Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is prioritizing the soul. And we often can get so caught in the seeming demands and requirements of our very busy lives that we don't even hear, let alone prioritize the calling and yearning of our soul. And it's by listening to our soul that we get clarity and direction. So we're going to talk about that and what it looks like to be willing to listen, to have the courage and commitment to listen, especially in these times that can be so disorienting and confusing. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's place our palms together, rub those palms together, and feel the friction, the energy, the temperature, and then as you stop, feel the tingling and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us this morning. And welcome to everyone else who's joining us as well. So we're talking about prioritizing the soul. And this conversation comes from a conversation I had yesterday about time management. And, you know, it actually makes me think about how we go about problem solving. Because what happens is we have a concentration of focus that by its nature blocks our vision, blinds us. You know, we have blinders on, blinds us to peripheral circumstances and connections. And so we look at something and identify it as a problem when most often it is a symptom of a greater system. So we look at time management and we say, okay, well, how am I going to do all the stuff I have to do? And then the question that arises for me, or as I step back, I look at, well, what's all the stuff we have to do? You know, what's all the stuff that is calling for our attention, that is placing demands on our time and energy and awareness? Where are we investing all this time? And so rather than looking at time management, let's look at what it is that we're trying to manage. And half the time, more than half the time, what I notice in working with my clients around time management and overwhelm and all of that is that the things that they are making important, that they are putting their time to, are things that either don't matter, or they don't care about, or they're not priorities, or they're a deflection in some way, shape, or form. Good morning, Gia. So wonderful to have you here with us this morning. Welcome, welcome. We are talking about prioritizing the soul. And so the conversation that we're having now not only stemmed from a time management conversation that I had yesterday, but also a conversation with someone who finally, who was one of the people that arrived in the beginning of our coaching with overwhelm for so many things to do and having to manage all this stuff in their lives that they had to do, and all these demands on them, and how to navigate that. And what we ended up doing was looking at what was her soul calling for, what was the truth that was underlying all this, because that's where we get the true priorities. I just want to wrap this up, and then I'll get to your comment, Rosalind. I just want to finish this thought. And what I would say that this person is truly ready to graduate our coaching work, because what they recognized was that their life is amazing, that they don't need to do any of this stuff that they were doing. In fact, not only do they not need to do it, but they don't want to do it. And what they do want to do is to just let go of all of this stuff that they realized they were doing because they felt like they needed to prove themselves to the world in some way, shape, or form. And when they finally came to the recognition that there's nothing they need to prove, they gave themselves the freedom to listen to what their heart really, really wanted. And what their heart really wanted was to live the life that they've already created the perfect structure for, to live the life that, in their beautiful home, with their partner, and to just be enjoying that. Now, I have every assurance that this person is going to be, it's not that they're going to do nothing. As soon as they gave themselves permission to just relax and do what they wanted, they said, and I have my children's book that I haven't been able to work on, and I have my book of poetry that I want to be working on. And what's happening is they got rid of all the expectations and all the projections about what they should do or what the world wanted from them. And they connected deeply with what their soul was calling for. And from that, they made new choices that, as a result, had them feeling light and free and confident and competent in a way that they never ever had before in their lives, because they were prioritizing their soul. So that, now that I've finished that, Rosalind says, what we focus on is where our attention goes, and our energy. Like, we get to think about what we focus on is what we're investing our energy into. And we're giving energy to whatever that is. When we give energy to something, it magnifies it. And Rosalind continues, when I'm in the market for the car, I notice cars on the road, which I might see myself driving. But when it's not important, I'm not noticing or caring about what cars are on the road. Exactly. So the thing is that we typically major in minor things. Good morning, Robin. So good to have you here with us this morning. I'm delighted you made it. That's wonderful. And thanks for chiming in. So what happens is we major in minor things, And many of the things that we put our attention to are driven by the belief that that's what we should do, that there's some kind of social expectation of others or that we've imposed upon ourselves that says, for instance, this person that finally decided that they just wanted to live their beautiful life that they've worked so hard for forever, that they felt that they should be building an empire, that they should be making courses, that they should be doing all kinds of outreach and publicity and promotion and all of this stuff. And when it came down to it, it was to be proving themselves somehow, to be making a mark in the world, to be recognized, to be seen, to be whatever. And when it really, truly came down to it, all this person wants to do is to enjoy their beautiful life. And when we give ourselves permission to do that, then the things that our soul desires, like writing her children's book or a book of poetry, those are the things that bubble to the surface. And those are the callings of our soul. So rather than, like prioritizing all this other stuff, all this doingness that we use to justify our existence, to prove ourselves worthy, to validate ourselves and our worth, all this stuff that we do for motivated by those purposes, to please others or to maintain some kind of sense that we are a certain way. So much of it is coming from feeling less than. So much of it is coming from a sense of insufficiency, where we believe that somebody who has more money or more fame is better than we are, or that we're not good enough because we don't have certain things, or we don't have certain status, or what happens if we move from this space of sufficiency where we don't have to prove anything to anybody? We are worthy just by virtue of our being here. What would be different? We might give ourselves a chance to listen to the song of our soul, the inspired action or inspired call to action. We might move in that direction more readily, right? Instead of prioritizing all the stupid stuff that we waste so much time with, that we have attributed false value to. And, it's interesting. I've been having a debate with a friend around activism and advocacy and law and justice, and what our responsibilities are to follow the law, and what our responsibilities are to rise up against oppression and injustice. And we have very differing opinions about this. But when we connect to the calling of our soul, there's a clarity about these things that can direct us, that can guide us, that can counsel us and give us a clarity that isn't otherwise available. And I don't know why quite how this relates in the moment, but I was listening to an interview with or a talk by Joanna Macy, who is a longtime Buddhist and climate activist, and she was quoting a story about a man who was protesting the clear cutting of an ancient forest, and he stood of a rainforest, and he stood before the machinery, the bulldozers and all the machinery that was there to clear cut these trees. And he had a revelation. And that revelation was that he was not there. It was not he in his individuation standing in front of these machines to save the forest. He was the forest speaking through this vehicle, this human vehicle, acting through this vehicle, trying to save itself. And when we allow for the voice of the soul, when we prioritize the soul, what we're doing is we are allowing life to express through us. We are allowing for life itself to find expression. And I've said many times that, in looking at who am I, what I've arrived at is I am life expressing itself through this vehicle. And it's when we connect to our deepest soul and we prioritize it and its callings and its yearnings, that we are the purest expression of life in its unique and specialized delivery through our unique existence. And so I invite you to look at what does it mean to be that expression of life? What does it mean to be listening to that call? Oftentimes, what we do is we prioritize all kinds of craziness that is part of our everyday life. I have to do the laundry, I have to go grocery shopping, I have to clean the house, I have to do, get my work schedule in order. I have to, take the kids to the gym or, like whatever it is that we make so important, that screams in our head so much more loudly than the voice of our soul. Rubin says, well spoken, makes sense, light brightened up. I love it. I love it. Yeah, well, we can be light brightening up. We can be that light. But only if we allow ourselves to listen through all the static, through all the noise. And our world, we're facing some tough stuff, folks. And the sooner we waken to this voice, the sooner we allow ourselves to listen and take the courageous action that we're called to, which may be letting go of so much of what we've believed was important or what we felt was important. To be willing to reassess, to be willing to reevaluate our priorities in order to be a more pure expression of life's expression. Then the sooner we'll be able to make a difference in turning things around in this world. The sooner we'll be able to hopefully relate to each other, to be accountable, to take responsibility, to move from compassion and love and care. So if you listen, we have these whispers, we have dreams, the dreams that we have. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Bernadette. So good to have you with us. Bernadette says, bringing in my purity late. LOL. Good morning, everyone. Wonderful. It's so good to have you here, Bernadette. And Robin says, strength in numbers, weakness when divided. So that's actually another really important thing. When we talk about overwhelm in the face of what our world is calling for, individually, we don't have much impact. Although, individuals have been able to change the world, right? But collectively, we have a voice that's much clearer, that can be heard from afar. And this is why it's so important to be willing to stand up and take action, and to be moved by that calling from the soul. Not because there are things you should do, but because your soul is calling for that. Life is calling you to allow it to move through you, to be in service to its calling. So Rosalind says, is this a practice until the being is no longer consciously engaging inner dialogue? I think we can have inner dialogue. It's a matter of what we do with it, Like, just because we have all this chatter going on doesn't mean we have to believe it. One of the things that I learned years ago is to be able to hear that noise and just say, okay, thanks for sharing. Not like you have to believe it, not like you have to pay attention to it, not like you have to act on it. There's a big difference between listening to the voice of your soul and listening to all the chatter. That we get to be discerning. Discernment is an important and increasingly important practice, to be moving from a place of center, to be present to that authentic voice within, not the voice of fear, not the voice of anger or resentment or retribution or weakness or insecurity or, but to be moving from the authentic voice. That's what we're called to do. And to allow that guidance and to prioritize it. What if we truly did prioritize the song of our soul? What if we truly did listen and allow ourselves to be guided by that? the deepest dreams. So Bernadette says, or if the chatter is low vibration, you just don't set up residence. Rent for that space is way too high. Oh, I love it. So Bernadette, that reminds me of a quote from, who is it from? The Estes, the woman who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves, saying, I entertain despair, but I don't give it a seat at my table. You know, we don't allow it to take residence. It's one thing if it's a guest passing through, it's another to enable it or empower it to take up residence. So anyway, this is about reevaluating your priorities and listening to that and feeling and connecting with that life force that is moving through you, and prioritizing that. That's life trying to live you. You know, we say we live life. What if life is living us? And with that, I'm just going to wrap it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I thank you, Dido. Good morning. So good to have you here with us this morning. It is such a privilege to be here with all of you, and I am so grateful to you for your presence, your holding space for these conversations, for engaging, and for all the love. And Robin says soul recognition. Exactly. That's what it's all about. Live life, just don't just exist, says Bernadette. Exactly. Let's live life and let's life live us. And so with that, until next time, so much love to you.